Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us, the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt and the Mirror's chief football writer John Cross. Welcome to you both. Let's quickly run through the back pages. Mirror, escape to victory. John's story here. Gunners get green light, sign £60 million Jokeris Kop I Frimpong to be the new Trent. In the Sun, it goes from bad Manchester United to Verts Manchester City. The Times, that's the big tennis story of the day. Murray and Djokovic just split their coaching relationship. Keely Hodgkinson pictured with Prince William. Hodgkinson can't wait to get back on track. Telegraph, I don't know why I was praised after losing to Rory. Justin Rose in the golf there. And Marinakis in swipe at Neville, the Forest owner. OK, John, let's get straight to it then. Your story, back page of the Mirror, escape to victory, as in Victor Jokeris. Arsenal have been told he's all theirs for £60 million. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this, Teddy. I mean, blimey, if there's one team in the Premier League that really need a striker, then it's Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, isn't it, really? It's been so obvious. When doing this story, I was amazed to look up today to see that Kai Havertz is still Arsenal's leading Premier League goal scorer. And even he hasn't got 10 goals. He's only got 9. So to say Arsenal need a striker is the understatement of the summer, really. And Gyökeres, I do think is on their hit list. I do think, as it stands, I think Gyökeres is a very, very attractive option. The point of this story is saying that Sporting would accept about £60 million if they get an offer from a club. 70 million euros, I guess, it is the sort of the figure roughly translated. And frankly, Gyökeres is definitely on Arsenal's list. Listen, I do know that sort of Mikel Arteta really likes Alexander-Arnold. Newcastle obviously not willing to sell him and sort of very confident of keeping him, particularly if they get Champions League football, of course. And then obviously Arsenal long-term admirers of Benjamin Sesko as well. So this is not done by any means, but I do think that Gyökeres is a very viable option. He's scored so many goals, hasn't he, this season? 98 in 100 overall for Sporting. So it's certainly got the golden touch that Arsenal are looking for. Perhaps also maybe better value, because if they've got to solve other issues, i.e. a left winger, they've got Zubamendi coming in, haven't they? Maybe they've got to get a reserve keeper as well. So there's lots of areas to solve, and I think Gyökeres is going to be a really sought-after striker, and Arsenal definitely in the market and definitely looking.
John points out his age here, Charlie, as well, in his prime, 27 next month. I've looked it up. He's got 56 goals for club and country in 48 appearances this season. What kind of statement is it from Arsenal, Charlie? Coventry have been playing tonight. Obviously, we remember him, but he's not quite the Coventry Jokeris.
No, and I think, Arsenal need a player like him. Of course they do, as John said. But the whole sort of situation with this player is an intriguing one, and it's one which I think every director of football at a Premier League club at the moment should all be hanging their heads in shame. He was here 2 years ago. He only cost Sporting Lisbon, £20 million from Coventry. He had a good season. He was the second top scorer in the Championship. He scored 21 goals, and I think this was the ultimate example of real snobbery towards the EFL. Sometimes it just defies belief that these clubs could have had this player. I'm not saying Arsenal would necessarily have gone for him 2 years ago. They should have gone for him last summer when it was evident how strong a player he has become. He's obviously improved since he's at Coventry. But he's got everything. As we know, the traditional number 9. There's not too many of them around at the moment. So, Arsenal have to pay, all clubs, a premium for a player like that. But if he'd have been playing for Arsenal a week ago, I think they'd be in the final of the Champions League.
Well, that'd be a different story. John, I want to come to you on that in the transfer line as we approach the summer window as well. What Charlie's saying there, he did display a good eye for goal in the Championship. But are we at the stage where players then need to go to Europe for a stepping stone, that clubs are reluctant to trust Championship form?
Yeah, Teddy, it's a really interesting one with Gyökeres, because I did get the impression that a lot of clubs looked and basically really viewed him. He'd scored a lot of goals, impressed with his performances. He'd been round the houses a bit. He'd been at Brighton previously, hadn't he? He'd been out on loan, gone to Coventry. And I get the impression from people I spoke to that basically he did want to go abroad and do something else, do something different to further his career. I do completely agree with Charlie and what he says. I do think there's a great deal of snobbery there, particularly amongst the big six. But I do sometimes think that basically the reason why Arsenal maybe couldn't do a Gyökeres out of Coventry for 15 million quid as Sporting did, because would he have got the same opportunities? Would he have got the platform? You know, it's so much about circumstance and opportunity to improve. You've got to be shrewd with your signings and smart with your deals. But I do think sometimes it's all about the platform. You know, would Gyökeres, if he'd come in, you know, 2 years ago at Arsenal, got the same game time, got the same opportunities and been given, you know, the same platform to improve and succeed, because there's no doubt about it. He's gone to Sporting and got game time and improved. Let's see, you know, if he does indeed end up at Arsenal, whether the Portuguese league is enough of a test, although he has performed extremely well in the Champions League, of course. So I do think sometimes it's easy to say, oh, they should have signed him 2 years ago when he was available at this or that. But I think sometimes you actually need that stepping stone and that platform.
Charlie, quick thought on what it would mean for Mikel Arteta to get this striker. Is it now see what you can do and get that trophy, a big season ahead?
Yes, huge pressure on Arteta now. And I think some Arsenal fans are beginning to turn, particularly if Arsenal finish third, which could, you know, actually happen. But it's a big summer for Arsenal, big summer for Arteta. They're going to give him quite a lot of money. So that will bring his spending, he spent, 700 million so far. So it could be up to 850. And if by October, Arsenal are not firing and they're not playing well and they're still not doing well enough, despite presumably having signed a number 9, then that would be a real test for Mikel Arteta.
Fascinating to see how that plays out. Let's go to Gyökeres's old boss. Boy, how he could have done with him at Manchester United. But Ruben Amorim is going to be out of pocket, according to your paper as well, Charlie. I'll stay with you for this. From bad, Ruben pays for staff tickets as more cuts feared. What can you tell us about this story?
Yeah, he's paying for, you know, a large number of the partners of his assistants and coaching staff, because United have said that, you know, the partners are not going to be flown out for the game. I think it's pretty obvious that morale is not particularly good at Manchester United at the moment, and quite clearly from this it shows you that Amram, even with his own sort of, you know, coaching staff and the people around him, do need a lift, and he obviously wants to say thank you, because it could still be, you know, an unbelievable night for Manchester United. As it could be for Tottenham if they do win a European trophy and get into the Champions League. So, he's clearly decided to put his hand into his pocket and get, some of his colleagues, friends and family out for the match. Because it's very expensive, by the way. Sorry, it's very. I mean, the cost of getting to that game. I mean, I think hotels are coming in at about £1,100–1,200 a night. And it's very difficult to even get a flight there. So, of course, I'm sure United will be chartering some more flights. So it's not the easiest game to get to as well.
Yeah, let's talk of Bruno Fernandes paying for the staff to go to the FA Cup final last season. John, what do you make of this? Is this club on the brink of financial collapse? Is the frugality required? And what cost is it coming at? Are they cutting off their nose to spite their face here with the mood that there must be around Old Trafford?
Yeah, I do think it's about morale, isn't it? I mean, it's in contrast, isn't it? I read earlier today that, you know, Spurs are, you know, making tickets available and sort of kind of looking after staff, I should say, you know, in contrast. And United, it has felt like a lot of cuts this season, and things, you know, really being cut back, sort of kind of in the canteen about what staff are entitled to, even legends having sort of kind of issues cut back. And I guess it all plays into the kind of the, you know, Jim Ratcliffe overview, doesn't it, about trying to save funds to prioritise money on the pitch. But I must say, it kind of really puts it into context, doesn't it, when basically the manager's having to dig deep into his pocket. Listen, Amorim has found it difficult, hasn't he, to settle. And I think that basically because part of the reason is, you know, he's just trying to find that winning formula. But I do think he's a guy that we like and we want to succeed. I mean, I'm talking generally in the media. And I think he's sort of kind of good sound bites, an interesting fella. I don't agree with his kind of being wedded to the back three system by any means. but he generally gets his messages right. I think this is a positive, message from Amorim. Elsewhere I'm reading that basically United have cancelled their end of season awards, if you like, really, out of out of respect really for the fans, because blimey, it's not a season they want to live long in the memory, really, will it? But I do think Amorim it's a good touch here. I think there's sort of kind of a lot of United fans will go, okay, this guy's for us. Basically, the United fans are sticking with Amorim, and I actually think this is a good positive PR message.
Yeah, maybe save all the awards, just give them to Bruno Fernandes. Don't go through the rigmarole of all of that, because he's the only one scoring goals for them, Charlie. And to make matters worse, you're reporting there your story that they're not going to get Liam Delap. You think he might go to Chelsea. Tell us about Liam N's game, your headline there.
Well, there's certainly, huge interest from Manchester United. We're not knocking that down at all. They clearly would really like him. But I think Chelsea still feel very confident they're going to get him. Relegation for Ipswich means they're only going to get £30 million for him. And he's worked with Enzo Maresca before at Manchester City in the academy. So he's a manager he knows well. So I think Chelsea still believe they're going to get their man, even though Manchester United are interested, even though I'm sure some other clubs as well are interested in a good talent that's had a decent season for Ipswich. It's become a bit more difficult for the last few months, but still 12 goals, not bad for a young striker's first season in the Premier League. So wherever he goes, I'm sure he'll do really well, given a bit of time.
Fascinating to see where Delap goes. It's a good headline, John, isn't it? You'll concede that even with your rivals, the Sun, there, from bad to Wirtz, because they've got Ruben Amorim and is maybe paying out for staff tickets, contrasted with Florian Wirtz in for £126 million City talks. Again, Charlie reporting, but just get your thoughts on that, John. How big a boost could that be for Pep Guardiola's side?
Yeah, Charlie's been busy, isn't he? Busy day. So, Wirtz, I think, is one of Europe's really most sought after and special talents. At the weekend, I think sort of the German media were reporting that Bayern have got such a strong interest and determination. I'm sure that hasn't changed. But listen, the last thing that Leverkusen would want to do is sell to Bayern. So basically, I do think it would suit sort of them for him to make a Premier League move. This has been well trailed, the kind of the Manchester City interest, of course, because he's such a creative force. And if you're looking to replace Kevin De Bruyne, then what better way? But it's the detail that's eye-catching in this story, in this development. I read here that basically he's flown from Maastricht into Blackpool, presumably private jet, and basically held talks with City today. So basically, City are really clearly keen, according to this report, to move matters on. And I do think if you are looking for a complete City overhaul and a refresh, a regeneration of this Pep Guardiola squad, it's almost like City 0.30, isn't it, really? It's, I don't think you'd get a more exciting and really refreshing addition than Florian Wirtz. Fantastic talent, brilliantly creative, wonderful player. And if City could kind of pull that off ahead of Bayern Munich, ahead of other Premier League teams, then I think that would be a hell of a coup. I still think City will come back so strong. I think it's a tantalising test for Pep Guardiola next season. I'm a huge Guardiola fan and what he's done for English football. And I do think if they can kind of pull that off and get back at sort of kind of into the title race, what a title race we'll have next season.
Certainly will. £126 million, a lot of money, Charlie. What are your thoughts? Can he fill those De Bruyne boots?
I think he's a terrific player, and it just seems like the obvious player to get if they can get him. Bayern were confident they were going to get him for around £80 million, or Manchester City seem to be offering about €150 million, which is £126 million, and they've clearly held talks today. Pretty obvious that Wirtz is interested. The fact that he's over in Manchester via Blackpool with his dad, who's also his agent. Ultimately, as it often is, it's going to be about money as well. How much money Manchester City are actually going to be offering him in wages. But there's no doubt that he would be a tremendous player in the Premier League, and I really hope City get him.
Interesting, your story. Another report saying they would much more prefer to sign to Manchester City than their big rivals Bayern Munich as well. Charlie, John, thanks for now. We will take a quick break. When we come back, look at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers, including this in the Times. The tennis romance is off. Murray and Djokovic split. And we'll also get reaction from Charlie and John on Sunderland's dramatic extra-time winner against Coventry, which has seen them through to the Championship playoff final to play Sheffield United. Welcome back. You are watching Back Pages tonight, and it's welcome back to the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt and the Mirror's chief football writer John Cross. And John, let's come to you and the Mirror then. A wonderful piece set in the inside pages from Andy Dunn. Football will be losing part of its soul when Everton says goodbye to its grand old lady, Goodison Park. John, just flesh out some details here. And do you agree with the overarching sentiment here? It does feel, for even neutrals, that there's something special about this 19th century stadium.
I absolutely love it. I think it's a brilliant piece by my colleague Andy Dunn, who has got, sort of Goodison Park really close. Sort of really, you get to the heart of the issue here. Thanks for the memories is the sort of the banner on the piece there, and his kind of tribute and farewell to the stadium. One of the great grounds of English football. Really draws you in. Every single word is an absolute sort of gem, really, and it sort of kind of details the emotion. Goes in on a funny little anecdote about a rumour sweeping Merseyside, really, about the rumours about Sir Paul McCartney turning up to play at the final day, which even he sort of says, look, it's probably unfounded, won't happen. But there was a Beatles song, an ode to it, basically, She's Leaving Home. And of course, this has got a nice little twist to it today. Then that basically, because the original plan, I think, was to kind of tear Goodison down and basically replace it with flats. And what are they doing? They're keeping Goodison and actually allowing then the Everton women's team, making that their main stadium. And I tell you what, if there's a better story than that, football story, in recent weeks, then I've yet to see it. What a fantastic effort from Everton. What a fantastic thing to do. I think there's quite a few clubs that are really kind of buying into their women's side and promoting the WSL. This is a fantastic, brilliant move by Everton. I think, if you weren't a fan of the sort of the Everton women's team before, then you're more likely to go and watch them now. It's a team that they're trying to improve and promote. And I think what a fantastic thing to do with a wonderful piece of English football history. You're moving on from the history of the game into a brave new world. And I think that's a wonderful piece of symmetry and a great, great move by Everton. Fabulous.
What do you think, Charlie? Good nostalgia move? I know that even some of my friends and I, not Everton fans, were talking about maybe going up and seeing a women's game just to savour the stadium one last time.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a very interesting look at their average crowds for next season compared to the ones this season. But they're going to absolutely rock it, aren't they? First of all, Everton fans are going to take the opportunity of going regularly, I think. The current ground they're playing at, it's only got 500 seats, so it's not really fit for purpose. And there'll be a lot of neutral fans who'll take the chance to go and watch a game at one of the great stadiums. I mean, I still think it's the right decision for Everton to move to a new stadium. I think any away fan, and I've been there a few times in the away end, the back of the lower tier is not the best way to watch a football match. That's for sure. So I get why Everton are leaving. Totally the right decision. But yeah, as John says, it's a really romantic story. I think it's going to be a bit odd, Goodison, because they're not going to open the top tiers. And of course they're not, because they're not going to be getting 30,000 every week, are they? 39,000. So that will take quite a lot of money in terms of upkeep. They'll take a bit of money as well to continue to be hosting football. But it's a great move by Everton. A good, real feel-good story.
Yep, look forward to seeing Goodison continue next season. Let's quickly talk about Evangelos Marinakis. Just, 30, 40 seconds on this, John, if we can, because there's other topics to talk about. Marinakis in swipe at Neville. It's a Telegraph's take on Nottingham Forest's statement about their position on Taiwo Awoniyi and Evangelos Marinakis' sense of being disturbed on the pitch a little bit. Said he wasn't angry at his manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. What's your take on the way that they've handled it, Forest, in the sense of coming out with a statement? Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I am, Teddy. It was a long, detailed statement. It really sought to redress, some of their sort of reporting around it and the commentary around it. Obviously, it was a massive story. Gary was at the same game I was at Anfield on Sunday, but obviously had strong views about the sort of the pictures that we all saw. And I guess, the immediate thing is he having a go at the manager, or is he more frustrated with the team and the result, if you like, of the outcome overall? And that sort of statement, goes to try and address that and sort of kind of set the record straight. But I have to say, I think Gary's got every right, and I bet you every other viewer has looked at that and gone, what on earth is the owner doing? Why is he on the pitch? Why is he having a go? Nuno should be up for manager of the year, not sort of kind of, and that's, I'm afraid to say, that's where you leave yourself. You're open to that suggestion and sort of questioning when you do that sort of thing by going on the pitch. If you'd rather not be questioned, don't storm onto the pitch afterwards. That's a simple solution. Forest have had a fabulous season. They're into European football now, and I just think it's a bit sad that obviously probably going to miss out on Champions League football. But I actually think there's good detail in here from John Percy about sort of kind of the annoyance with Neville dates back some time. But I actually think for a lot of people, they'll be going, what on earth's he done that for?
Indeed, and I suppose underlining it as well, Taiwo Wanyu, wish him all the best after that urgent intestine surgery, which Forest say was at the heart of the frustration on Marinakis' part, that the medical team didn't pick up on the severity of that injury. Let's talk Sunderland, Charlie. Sheffield United await in the playoff final after getting past Coventry in extra time. It's a feel-good story, isn't it, after the tough decade that they've had, really, since going down, 8 years ago?
Yeah, been really tough, and their improvement has been pretty. The last 12 months, they put together a really good, young, exciting team. I must admit, I thought, even though the first half of the season they were really impressive, I thought their squad may be a bit too thin to really cope with obviously a grueling 46-match season. But they've done it. Obviously, they had a terrible end to the season, where they're just basically losing every week. But they've really lifted themselves. It wasn't easy tonight. Coventry played well. They obviously got the goal they needed, and I thought Coventry would probably go on to win it. But so, Sunderland done it. Obviously, devastating for Coventry in injury time of extra time. It's going to be a brilliant final. It really is. Whoever gets back into the Premier League is obviously a welcome addition. Sheffield United were obviously in it last year, but it'd be great to see Sunderland back. Great supporters. And I always think, the size of a club where they're still virtually selling out a big ground when they're not doing that well. It's all very well filling out in the Premier League, but Sunderland, put often over 40,000 in the Championship. So it's good. Lots of fans are going to be heading to Wembley and hopeful of getting back into the Premier League.
Week Saturday against Sheffield United. John, we've got about 20 seconds. Quick word on Lampard from that side of it, because he roused Coventry from a relegation treble, didn't he? Has he redeemed himself a little bit nonetheless?
Heartbreak tonight, Teddy. But I have to say, overall, what a fantastic season. From the brink of relegation, struggle really, into the playoffs. Heartbreaking tonight. But I do think he's really, really shown what a good young potential manager he is. He's still got a massive future, I think, managerially, Frank Lampard, and with Coventry for the future.
Absolutely. John, Charlie, thank you for your time tonight on Back Pages tonight. We'll speak to you again very soon, I hope. If you missed any of the show, another chance to see it at hour. Also available as a podcast. Just download Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Join us again on Wednesday night. Our guests will be Martin Hardy and Henry Winter. And up next, all the dramatic action from that match at the Stadium of Light as Sunderland win through in stoppage time, in extra time, to get to the Championship playoff final. A week on Saturday, they will play Sheffield United. All details next.